What's happening, MuniciPals? I want to talk to you about the brand new golf ball markers from Matchstick Golf. The golf season upon us, and the Masters is right around the corner, and Matchstick is ramping up and raring to go. They've recently released two markers in collaboration with Manzanita Links, one of Oregon's best coastal golf courses. You can get King Sevi, the Seagull, or the Spirit of Oregon crest right now. Or if you want something more formal, grab the all-new Bachelor Cash Stack. An all-new marker featuring a wad of $100 bills bound with a black bow tie and finished in gold. It's perfect for a bachelor party gift for your groomsmen. And of course, you can always use code MUNICIPALS at checkout for 20% off your first order. Head to matchstickgolf.com, get all new ball markers at a great price. Matchstick Golf, set fire to the greens.
How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Big C. We have Ashton and our regular guest, Nick, with us this week. We are talking fittings. I'm really excited. This is my realm. This is what I do. This is what I love. Equipment is definitely my thing. We have Ashton and Nick coming up here to Portland to get fitted by your boy. I'm really, really excited for this because Ashton has gone through a fitting process with one of our competitors. Boo, we're not going to go there. But from what I've heard from Ashton, it, for the most part, was a good fitting. Some things I definitely don't do or wouldn't do as a fitter. He experienced through his fitting process and got a little overcharged, in my opinion, for what he got. So that bummed me out a little bit. I'm excited to get him into, some new equipment. Ashton's going to be a different realm than Nick's going to be because Ashton is trending more towards the single digits. His equipment is pretty good for him at this point. It's going to be a little bit more fine tuning. Where our boy Nick is new to golf, as anybody that has listened to any previous pods that we've done with Nick, he is just now, which we just found out, shot his first round under 90. Congratulations, Nick, on that. We're going to go into that a little bit. But he is now in the perfect time for somebody that is in, a 20 handicap trending into the high teens to get into their first fitted set. So really excited to kind of talk to both of these guys about, what it takes to get into a proper fitted set, the difference between getting fitted at a fitting studio with 50,000 combinations and walking into your big box and just buying something off the rack. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about getting fitted, either through tour trucks, studios, or your big box realm. But I am going to tell everybody I highly, highly recommend spending the money and getting fitted at a fitting studio. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to come to the company that I work at. There are some great companies out there that do great work and do really good fittings, but do your research on your fitters, because even within my company and, in the fitting realm, there are some guys in there that are out there for the money and not out there to get you fitted correctly. So make sure you do the research, make sure you check up and interview your fitter. See, how they go about doing their fittings and what it takes for them to do their fittings, because you're going to spend a lot of money coming in and get fitted. If you go to a studio, minimum full price for a full bag fitting without even buying clubs is $400. So you're going to spend substantial amount of money, basically the cost of a driver, out of a big box store for just the fitting before you get to the price of the club. So do the research, get into it. But what's happening, guys?
I was going to say, I And I actually don't want to interview my fitter. I want my fitter to talk at me for 3 straight minutes without taking a breath. And that's who I know who I want fitting in me. So that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling very excited because I was hoping you were going to talk for 3 straight minutes without saying hello. And you did it. So you passed the test. I will see you on Friday. You have my money, Chris.
Much appreciated.
I'm doing good, Chris. Good to see you guys. Glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Nick, let's first start off with your round you just had the other day. First time breaking 90. How was that? Where would we play?
Man. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted. I'm super stoked. It's something I've been working towards. My goal for 2021 was to break 90. Didn't quite get there. I got as low as a 93 last year. Hit that a couple of times. And so started off this year with the same goal. Game's been trending in the right direction. I've actually been taking lessons. I've taken lessons since I started playing golf 2 years ago. Again, I'm a pandemic golfer. But I started lessons again with a new instructor here in San Diego. Shout out to Bill Barrett at Stadium Golf, and started doing that. Bought a 6-pack of lessons. I'm 5 lessons in. Started that like a month and a half ago. So they've really been helping me out. I'm striking my irons so much better than I was before. Striking every club so much better than I was before starting these lessons, and it's made a big difference. That and a short game lesson that I had, like a little group session. It was like $150 for a couple hours of instructions with a couple other guys at the short game area at the driving range that I go to, and it really helped me feel so much more confident around the greens, especially with my chipping and pitching, which is an area that, as Ashton can attest, I've struggled with in the past pretty heavily. So the lessons are a huge part of it. I've really been hitting the range hard after work, just trying to get a consistent feel, not only to break 90, which is a huge goal of mine, but also for the upcoming fitting that we have this week, which I'm super stoked about. But yeah, I broke 90 yesterday, shot 89. I went 48, 41, which I was really excited about. One big thing in my game I've struggled with is actually getting worse as the round goes on. I think historically I've gone out and shot pretty well in the front and then gotten tired or fallen apart on the back for whatever reason. And so a big goal of mine in the last few rounds I've played is I don't really care what happens on the front. I just have to beat my score on the back. And I did that yesterday and ended up breaking 90. I finished bogey to shoot 89. So it would have been nice to get a little bit lower if I'd played the last 2 holes better. But I couldn't be happier, man. It's a huge goal that I've achieved, and did it at Admiral Baker North Course, which is, as we've discussed on this podcast, one of my favorites, one of my local favorites. I think I've called it a hidden gem. So, yeah, really stoked. And now the goal for the rest of the year is to get sub 15 handicap. I'm 21 right now and trending downwards. So, hopefully the fitting this week helps me get there.
I think it will, and you're kind of in that boat where I really like to get guys like you in the studio because you're working hard, you're grinding on your game, but your equipment isn't necessarily helping you out, which that's kind of where I want to lean into. What equipment are you playing right now, Nick? And I'm going to ask Ashton the same question afterwards.
Yeah, I'm playing a Wilson staff driver, the Cortex, the one from Driver versus Driver. Bought it at half price after I accidentally snapped the Strata driver that I had with my beginner set a couple summers ago. So just off the shelf driver from Wilson. I've got a set of Nike irons. They're the Nike VR something forged. I don't know. They're from 2012, I believe. So almost 10, I guess now 10-year-old irons. I've got a random assortment of wedges, 3 different wedges, a Wilson wedge, a TaylorMade wedge, and a Cleveland wedge as well. And then my hybrid is a TaylorMade, also from 2012. It's the RBZ, and I've got the identical 3-wood, which I never ever hit, which is also the RBZ. So total random assortment, different grip sizes on some of them, just total grab bag of clubs. Bought most of them on Second Swing or the Callaway used golf website. Also have the only new club that I've bought new was an Odyssey, my Odyssey putter. It's the Mini 7S exo stroke lab something. So random stuff.
Okay. So yeah, you're definitely gonna, I can tell you right now, getting you in a proper set, getting you in, a lot more of the forgiving, up to date equipment is drastically going to change your game. You're one of those guys that, you're new to the game. So you did what you needed to do price wise to piece together a half decent set that can get you out there and playing and enjoying the game, which is exactly what I would tell a high, 20s handicap that walked in my door to go do, because you wouldn't have been at the opportunity or point within your game to be able to get properly fitted. Now that you have worked on your game, you've taken lessons, which is another thing I tell people that are new to the game or walking into my studio wanting to buy clubs is, if you're a higher handicap, you're better off spending, $400 or $500 on a set of lessons, going and seeing somebody for a short time, dialing yourself in to where you can actually find the center of the face of a club, then coming to see me. Because we're just going to waste our time and money if I'm just slapping stuff in your hand and you're just slapping around in the bay. It just is wasting time for everybody. And so what you have done and the trend that you're going in your game is exactly what people should do before coming in to get fitted. Ashton, what do you have in your bag? We've talked a little bit about it, but remind everybody what we got going.
Yeah, well, one thing I also want to mention, Chris, is I think your point about, Nick and being a high handicapper and getting dialed in is key. But I think it's also a reminder to people, to good golfers, the importance of getting lessons, getting checkups, right? Because
Yes.
when I saw you in Vegas in December, and actually when I played with Nick at Sweetens, the the head high snap hook for me had kind of reared its head to the point where, like, I mean, I was hanging on for dear life, like just not having any fun, not able to attack at all off the tee. And I went and saw Brad after weirdly thinking about maybe going to see someone else. And like he made 2 adjustments, and I started hitting the ball way up in the air, and my distance was back, and my driver was a weapon, blah, 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 blah. Where I was thinking about, if I hadn't had that lesson and I had come to see you with the ball too far back in my stance, with all of these mechanical issues, I don't care if you put me in whatever the most forgiving driver is, my mechanics are completely ill-equipped and all the launch numbers are wrong because my ball position's wrong and everything's wrong. And it's like we're trying to optimize for a driver that's too far back in the stance where the launch angle is going to be, it's not right. So it's just a reminder, like I'm a legit 6 handicap and I just forgot how the mechanics of how to hit a driver was. And so it's a good reminder to everybody to go get lessons, especially going into a fitting, right? So my clubs, and you can help me a little bit, Chris, because again, I have more specialty stuff because I have been fit. So I've got a Maverick, just the original Maverick, 10.5 degrees. I have a Drago shaft, which I only called it out because one of the first things you noticed was my driver shaft. I think it's like a $450 shaft or something. I don't know.
$450 retail, 75 gram extra stiff is what Ashton's playing.
Which you said is like about as like stiff a driver shaft as it's possible to get, right?
You can go heavier nowadays, which will make it a little bit more stiff. I mean, we can go up to a 9X, which is 90 gram extra stiff now, which nobody in the world really needs to play. But yes, you're in one of the stiffest shafts that you can have. Dragos aren't necessarily the stiffest in the extra stiff realm. You can go stiffer with lower ball flight, lower spin, but for you, probably for what they were working with and everything, that was probably, and still is, from what I've seen, you hit, it probably still an optimal shaft for you.
Yeah, and I do actually I didn't ask for this, but I actually don't mind that it's a bit shorter because, I mean, maybe, I can't remember, hand up, like he might have asked me, but if you told me I could squeeze out 5 more yards or have a little bit more control, I'd pick control. Like I hit it far enough where it's like the 5 yards, I'd rather have a little tighter dispersion, but we'll figure that out when I get there. My 3-wood, which of course isn't a 3-wood, it's the Ping G425. I'm honestly most excited to get the right shaft in this thing, 'cause I know it can be a rocket launcher. You bought me that head before you left Golf Mart and kind of snuck me in the employee discount, but I'm playing some 39-inch shaft that you like pulled out of the back of your car, which I can't hit it higher than about head high. It's great like when you play Eureka North, like a little head high like runner if you go to like Bandon or something, but I can't carry that thing at all. So with the right shaft, I want that thing to go like 265 dependably because I don't have a 3-wood, as people know. So really need that. The shaft is going to make, like, that's honestly, you can always take a video to show a customer like a 39-inch ill-equipped shaft versus what that shaft is going to be. It's going to change everything about that
Well,
club.
and length alone is going to help you hit it higher and longer as well. Just because a 2-degree or a 2 hybrid, which is usually a 16 degree head,
That's 17,
is 17-degree head, which I think we have it dialed down a degree
15
or
and a
two.
half.
We have it to 15 and a half. So, and with the MCI, multi-compound Fujikura shaft that you have in there, the dynamics of it especially cut down because I tipped it extra and made it super extra stiff because we were trying to get a lower ball flight. A little bit of an experiment that failed, and I left the Bay Area before I could help you out getting that dialed in and fixed. But really excited to get that dialed in because something with a 42.5 to 43-inch shaft, which is closer to what a 3-wood plays at, is going to give you a little bit more leverage to be able to, really give it your all and kind of get that 3-wood length that we were trying to get out of that with a lower ball flight, lower spin rate, which is going to allow you to roll out further. This is, for anybody that's listening, Ashton does not play woods. He can't hit a wood. It's the funniest, weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life. The guy is a great ball striker, but for some fucking reason about woods, he just can't master them. So we've gone the route of hybrids for him. And I mean, he's generational ball striker with a hybrid. It's ridiculous. Anybody that's played with Ashton, like his hybrid game's fucking LPGA like hybrid level. It's ridiculous. So we went 2-degree or 2 hybrid, which is a closest you kind of can get in the hybrid realm to a 3-wood, kind of a high launch 3-wood almost. And so we get him in the proper extra stiff flex, a little bit heavier and longer. It's going to give you a better ball flight and be able to be more usable. So I'm excited for that. But
yeah, and I think the other thing too is like that's a good example of like for me being a 6 handicap. Like my goal this year is to break my personal best of a 2.9 handicap. That's where we're starting to like come with razor blades, right? Because the way I think about that club is like, if we're playing a course where I can't hit driver, for me it's to hit a 230-yard club. Or like I might be giving up 30 or 40 yards, which is going to affect my ability to score on a par 4.
Every single.
And then the big difference that we've talked about is like number 10 at Metropolitan. If I kill my driver, I can have like 240 into that green, but it's all water. With that club now, like even if I murder it because it goes so low, it's going to go right in the water, which like I'm not going to do that often. But like if I want to, hit a grown man shot up on the green and make eagle, that gives me actually opportunities to really go at some stuff that I just can't do right now. So excited for that. But then I got my classic high bore. You're not taking that. I don't care what you do. You're not taking that out of the bag.
No fitter would ever take that out of your bag.
And I give the guy credit at your competitor. We won't name it. No free ads. But he said I couldn't possibly get you anything better than that club. It goes 230 yards. The face is probably like CT to death. I love that thing. And then I have 2 hybrids at you Frankenstein to replace my 4 and 5 iron. I also realized recently in a conversation with my dad, I haven't told this to either one of you, that the reason I love those is my dad and I have identified that those hybrids mean you don't have to make a full swing. Because my dad and I are both trying to like work on our backswing. The only way to hit a good 4 and 5 iron is like, turn with your back to the target. And it's real nice just to get up there and kind of arm a little hybrid out there from 195, which is why I think we both like those clubs a lot. And then I got 6-through pitching wedge in the JPX 919s. Chris, X100 shafts in there. Again, boards, right? True temper.
Dynamic Gold X100s. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then probably the most used shaft on tour.
Yeah, and that's a little gripe about my fitting is like Chris has been telling me all about these, LA golf shafts and all these iron shafts, and like this was only 2 years ago. Me and the guy at TrueSpec had no conversation about iron shafts. Like it was just like, what's the head? Not even a discussion about shaft. So, and then I have last year's or 2 years ago's TaylorMade wedges, which I've actually love. But shout out to Chris because when I got those things spin like crazy, and they were going super short. So Chris bent the shit out of all of them. So it's like my 60s actually were like a 57. We got it dialed in based off of distance I want to hit it as opposed to loft. And I love those things, but I'm probably pushing well over 100 rounds. So like I'm sure I'm losing something at this point on grooves at this point.
So
And then
another.
so then I have. Oh, then I
Oh,
was gonna say so that I have a TaylorMade Soto putter, which I used for a long time, but recently I've been playing. I've had a two ball that I've had since I was a child, like the OG two ball, the one after the White Hot. And Chris actually Frankensteined that with some new shaft and my round putter grip, and I've been putting really well with that. So those are the two I go back and forth between. But Chris has kind of identified that the TaylorMade blade I was playing is certainly not right because I have a very straight back and straightforward putting stroke, and he witnessed me putt horrendously. Like at La Purísima, I was basically had 15 feet, would putt it 15 feet past the hole. So I think the days of that putter are honestly long gone. So I'm also very excited about a proper putter fitting because the machine at TrueSpec wasn't calibrated for lefties, and so basically the guy just handed me putters and told me which one felt good, which that's not a fitting in my personal opinion, right, Chris? So that's what I got in the bag.
Let's start out there. Since both of you guys have had terrible experiences when it comes to putter fittings. So one thing with a putter fitting, and I would say two things that need to be dialed in for people the most, and the things you probably should pay somebody to fit you correctly, especially at a studio, and that's going to be putter and driver. And the reason I say that, irons, as long as you get the correct lie and loft angles and kind of this correct stiffness, you can kind of fall into something that works. I'm not saying you shouldn't get fitted for them, but it's a little bit easier to kind of fall into something that kind of will kind of be a Band-Aid or work for you. But I think the most undervalued club in your bag, fitting wise especially, is got to be your putter. Your putter is what saves you strokes in a round. And if you're using the incorrect putter, and what I mean by incorrect putter, I mean the incorrect proper toe hang for you, the incorrect length, the incorrect size of grip, the incorrect of loft and lies. All of those are factors if you're going to miss putts and not hit the line that you're intending to hit. If any of those things are wrong with your fitting, with your putter, and it's not correctly fitted, that's all going to create more strokes lost on the greens throughout your round. So proper putter fitting, in my opinion. So what we use at Club Champion is a device called the Sam Putt Lab. What the Sam Putt Lab does is you enter in the specs of the stock putter that the individual comes in with that's getting fitted. So Ashton, Nick, when you guys bring your putters in, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring them over to the line loft machine and then also bring them over to my measuring tape and find the length of your putter and then find the line loft that they are at that point. I'm going to enter them into the Sam Putt Lab device and program, which then in turn will give us a stock starting point. So when I have you guys putt on the Sam Putt Lab and it records your stroke and how you guys attack the ball, it's going to utilize that information to tell us where we need to go from there. So it's going to ask the type of putter, it's going to ask the amount of toe hang, the lie and loft, and the length of the stock putter that the person is playing with. And so after you putt on the Sam Putt Lab, what that's going to give you is going to give you the correct specs from the stock setup that you bring in that we need to go with and find you a putter in that realm. So let's say, Ashton, if you bring in your TaylorMade Juno putter, which we already know has way too much toe hang.
Soto, not that it matters, but Soto.
Sorry, TaylorMade Soto putter. So the Soto putter, because he's got a flow neck on it, it is almost 90 degrees of toe hang, which there's one player on tour that I know of, Phil Mickelson, that plays a 90-degree toe hang. And so the most amount of toe hang that you utilize, which is 90 degrees, is the most you can get on a putter. Means that you have a major amount of arc in your stroke. If you have 90 degrees of toe hang, you basically arc your putter around your body. So it's like a full rainbow style arc. If anybody's played enough golf, anybody that listens to this knows rarely will you come across a guy that putts like that. Most people are going to either have a slight arc or a very true straight back and straight forward putt. Stroke, which is going to, if you have a straight back and forward, you're going to be in a face balance putter. If you've got a little bit of arc, you could be in a 30, 45, or 60 degree toe hang, depending on how much arc that you offer to it. I have never fit anybody in a 90 degree toe hang, ever. So when I saw Ashton's putter and I saw how much struggling he was having with that thing, I knew for a fact the toe hang alone was incorrect for him. So I can, before even getting him on the Sam Putt Lab, I already know what type of putter we're going to have to get him in, which the 2-ball, there's a reason why that's working better for him, because it's a slight toe hang, because you have the 2-ball with the L neck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a slight toe hang, 30 to 45 degrees on that guy because of the neck of the putter.
Yeah, which is bad audio. But yeah, it's a little bit. And the other thing I've also noticed, because you've heard a lot and lie, the other reason I really like that putter more is it feels more upright than my other one. And I feel like I can actually, it just feels better. Like I'm more over the golf ball, which the other one feels like to do that, I have to like put it up on its toe. It just, the more I putt with that other one, the more it starts to feel like a snake in my hand. But I like that the 2-ball is more upright, if that makes sense.
And that's another thing you've been working on. Something I tell a lot of people to do is get a putting mirror.
Yeah, and honestly, the putting mirror has showed me that, like, honestly, like, I was a decent putter with my Soto, and then I got the putting mirror, and now I'm terrible with the Soto. Does that make sense?
Because your eye level is now directly over your ball, which is what the putting mirror is forcing you to do. You're standing more upright and creating a more leveled shoulder over your ball, which is going to be parallel to the target that you're actually putting at, which is allowing you to have a shoulder rocking motion, which is going to create a straighter putting motion. So now that the Soto is, forcing you to want to come inside on your backswing and then also come through, closed. It's fighting you. So that's why you're having inconsistencies with it, because there's too much toe hang that's fighting you. Where the mallet is now allowing you to have a straighter stroke, which you still have an arc in your stroke, and there's nothing wrong with having an arc in your stroke. Not rarely do I see somebody have a perfect straight back and straight forward stroke. So, you just need to get in the proper toe hang there. Where Nick he went through a little bit of a fitting with the Sam Putt Lab, but was kind of just thrown some stuff and had a quick 20-minute fitting, which if you're paying for an hour, you should fucking take up an hour. Like, even if it's 45 minutes of the putter fitting and then 15 minutes of talking price and putter and different options, that's still the full hour that you're utilizing. So when Nick told me that he went in, and I will say he went into one of our studios, and got fitted and had a bad fitting, I personally took offense to that, because the amount of training and the amount of time and effort that we put into becoming good master fitters, and in my opinion, some of the best, it's at least in the United States, it drives me crazy because guys don't see the dollars that come out of a putter fitting, especially a guy that's a little bit higher handicap that probably isn't going to go for a $750, $800 Scotty Cameron, stability shaft setup. They see it's going to be a quick $300, fit out the door. They got their $30 worth of commission. I hate that shit because if I see somebody like Nick and I dial him into a putter and I spend the time, effort, and everything I need to, when Nick is ready to get irons or he's ready to get something else fixed in his bag, the first person he's going to call is he's going to take my card out of his wallet and give me a call because of the time and effort that I put in and how satisfied he is with that putter. He's going to come back and spend the extra money with me instead of going to Golf Galaxy or another one of our competitors to get a fitting. So it's very important.
89 quote putting like ass too. So like what's going to happen when you get him dialed in?
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying
he might just shoot 78 this weekend.
And you know what? I'm not necessarily saying that his putter is bad for him. They didn't adjust his loft. They didn't really adjust the lie. They just basically sold him a stock putter, which irritates the living shit out of me. I've never put somebody in a stock setup, ever. I fit hundreds and hundreds of putters. Not one time have I sold somebody a 71 degree, 3 degree loft putter. Like, I've never done it. So frustrates me, and I'm really excited to get you boys into the shop and get fitted. So what I want to kind of do is open it up question-wise for you guys. What questions do you have for me coming into the fitting?
Chris, I think we've touched on this offline, but when you're fitting somebody, and we'll go from a high handicapper's perspective here, when you're fitting somebody for the first time, what for you makes a good, like, what makes a good fitting experience for you? What should I do as a high handicapper getting fit for the first time? How do I make the fitting most successful? What can I control from my end that makes the fitting successful, I guess, from your perspective?
So that's a great question. So what I would say in that is, one thing is coming in with an open mind and being brand agnostic. So the one thing you don't ever want to do to come into a fitting and just say, I'm a TaylorMade guy. That's all I play. I only play TaylorMade. I can fit you and I could do a good job fitting you in only TaylorMades. They have an array of options. They've got 8 different iron heads. Like, I'm bound to be able to find you a good setup, but that you're leaving the options out there. We carry 15 different iron brands. For you to just say that one iron brand is all you play or it's the best for you and not coming into a fitting before, you're losing out on a lot. So coming in brand agnostic and being open to allowing the fitter, especially a master fitter, to do his job and get you in the proper setup is a great thing. And I'm not necessarily saying come in with an open checkbook. I'm saying, hey, if you have got a budget, that's totally fine. People come in with a budget all the time. Like, if you're only looking to spend $4,500, which people need to be realistic. Inflation is real. Prices are going up. It just is what it is. Getting a set for $2,500 is just, that's fucking impossible. You're not going to get a good fitted set for yourself for $2,500. You can walk into a Golf Galaxy and piece some shit together that's not necessarily for you, and you could probably be between $2,500 and $3,000, but it's not going to be a good setup for you. If you're looking to get custom fitted, be realistic. I can get you in a very good custom set between $35,000 and $5,000. And if you really think about that and you value your game and this is your hobby, that set's going to work for you for 4 to 5 years. You're usually not going to need to adjust or change things unless your swing has heavily changed over time, aka getting faster swing speeds, which all three of us are in our 30s. We're probably not getting much faster than we're at right now. If anything, the older we get, the slower we're going to get. So you're really not going to see much of a change. So those clubs are going to work for you for a long time. I tell people equipment does not improve year in and year out. Equipment improves every 4 to 5 years. So if you've got a driver that's 3, 4, 5 years old, maybe a new head might help you out. Maybe some of the shaft technologies have changed a little bit, and it can help you out there, but you're not going to see drastic changes. Once you get past 5 years, that's when you're going to see drastic changes. That's why Nick's setup that he has now is it's going to be so much better once he gets properly fitted, because his equipment is so old. It's not meant for him, especially that Cortex driver. I hate to say it, Nick, that's the shittiest fucking driver made in like the last 20 years. So, I mean, Brian Urlacher
can attest to that for sure.
Yeah, not a good driver at all. So we're going to see massive changes there. But, another thing I would say that people can do is exactly what you've done, and come in with an open mind, allow the fitter to do his job, and be prepared. In California, it's different. You guys have a year-round season, so your game doesn't diminish in the winter. Whereas the Pacific Northwest, back east, we've got seasonal time frames. So you can't really golf a lot in the winter up here in Oregon. It rains too much. It starts snowing. The courses start shutting down. They're muddy and mucky. Everything plugs. So people kind of put the clubs away for 3 months out of the year. So one thing I would tell people that are from Pacific Northwest or East Coast, get fitted at the end of your season, September to October, when you're dialed in and you've played all year, golf season, and you've gotten to the point where your swing's probably the best it's going to be. Or come get fitted 2 to 3 months into the season. So if your season starts in March, come see me in July, because your swing is going to be back to where it needs to be able to be properly fitted. You guys are a little different. Because you guys are both in California, you get year-round seasonal golf. So your game never diminishes. You're able to play year-round. It's great. So you guys can get fitted at any time. It's not a big deal. But make sure that your game is where it needs to be. And another thing, do not show up to a fitting without clubs. And the only reason I say that is because if you're properly going to get fitted, the fitter needs to know where they're starting and have a starting point. When you get properly fitted, we need to be able to get stock numbers off of where you're at, because I need to know what your dispersion looks like with your proper set. I need to know how far you're hitting it with your current set. And I need to know what numbers in spin rates, launch angles, and smash factor, and all of those factors to be able to get you in a set that's better than that. Because if I have no starting point and I fit you in something that might be fitted in the same thing that you already have number-wise, what are we doing here? It's kind of moot point for both of us. So having a starting point is going to help the fitter out. So always bring your set with you if you can, because it's going to help out.
Okay, I have a question. You have taught me a lot about the importance of golf balls. Like, as an example, when Chris and I did a ball fitting, this was last year, so this is the 2021 balls, I guess. For context, I normally, historically, with a properly fit golf ball, is hitting my sand wedge 105 yards. With the Pro V1 and Pro V1X, I couldn't get that more than about 90 yards. And with the Chrome Soft X, I was hitting it like 127. So how do you balance that with like a golf ball, right? Because like if you put me in Chrome Soft X's, you might put me in a driver that's not good, but it's just suddenly because the golf ball is a rock, right? Or a pinnacle. I don't know. But how do you fit a ball and then also fit clubs? Because that combo, as we both know, is what kind of is the perfect sweet spot, right? That was not a very articulate question, but how does the ball fit into the fitting?
So I will say we use Pro V1, Pro V1Xs because they're the only company that makes TrackMan golf balls, and we utilize TrackMan for our data. Not saying that we can't use other golf balls. They make these little silver stickers. They're like little dots that we can put on any golf ball that allows the TrackMan to track them. So if you are particular about your ball or you don't use a Pro V1, Pro V1X, I would recommend utilizing a ball, or if you've never been ball fitted before, come into a Club Champion or any, store that does it and get fitted for a golf ball. It's kind of like a putter. It's
But you
one
do
of
that
those.
with your current set, Chris? You do that with like your current set and then your new set? That's what I'm trying to
No,
say.
no. So it's all going to be relative, because if I'm having you use the Pro V1, Pro V1X TrackMan balls, we're getting stock numbers with those, and I'm trying to beat that stock number. So no matter what, if I'm in a fitting, it doesn't matter if we use your ball or not with your
Oh,
clubs
I
in the
see.
next one, because it's all relative. I'm trying to beat the numbers that are being brought in and given to the TrackMan at that point in time. So
Okay.
when you get your new set, that's when I would find an optimal ball for you. I would do a ball fitting, because a ball fitting is kind of like a putter fitting. It's a lost side of the fitting process that a lot of people, overlook, because a proper ball for your swing speed, getting you the proper spin off your wedges, getting you especially the proper spin off of your long game, which is your hybrids, your woods, and your driver, is huge.
So yeah, I told you I
Because
fit the Pro V1X and I'm hitting it like 30 yards farther than I like just because of Pro V1X off the tee. It's crazy.
yeah, I mean, and that's just because it's giving you the proper spin rate, and it's not spinning too high where it's giving you too high of a ball flight and it's flying out of the air like a duck. Like it's getting you where you need to be, where getting into a proper ball fitting and trying out the 15, 20 balls that are all in that like 3-piece, 4-piece range, that's going to give you the proper green speed spin, give you proper spin off there's so many balls out there that for you to just walk into a store and pick and grab based off of what your favorite player is playing on the PGA Tour is fucking nonsense, because you're just wasting your money. And at $45 to $50 a fucking dozen, you want to make sure that you're playing the optimum ball for you. And playing a lesser ball isn't bad. There's $30, $40 realm range where I would fit Nick into. We're like a Q-Star Tour or an ERC Soft, or, these like middle of the range balls that would be perfect for a guy like Nick at a higher handicap, that, not putting any shade on Nick at all, is most likely going to lose a few more balls than me or Ashton. I wouldn't want to put him in a $45, $50 dozen, set of balls, because he's just going to be upset because he's losing $50 every month or two. Where Ashton and myself probably lose a ball maybe once a round, if not every other round. And so, a dozen balls are going to last us a little bit longer.
So, selfishly, I'm curious on this subject. I typically play a direct-to-consumer ball. I play the Cut Blue because I've done a little research on it. Seems like it's somewhat similar to a Pro V1, and it's like half the price. I think it's like $20 a dozen at the local golf mart that I go to. Is that something that you would recommend the higher handicaps do, or would you say stick with the more traditional brands?
There's great direct-to-consumer balls. Gosh, I wish I remembered the name. Shoot. There's a brand out there where the guy Snell, thank you. So Snell, he owned all the patents for the original Pro V1, Pro V1Xs. He was the engineer for Titleist when they originally put those out. And so he created a direct consumer company that gives a very quality ball. And Vice and Cut also make quality balls. The only thing I would say about Vice and Cut is the durability of the balls. So for anybody that's a higher swing, player is going to eat the shit out of those balls. So as Ashton can contest, I know he played the Vice for a short while. The covers on them are very thin urethane. So if you've got, sharp grooves on your wedges and you swing hard, the urethane on the ball is going to fray off a little bit faster, where a high quality ball, made by, your Titleist, your Bridgestone, all of these.
Don't say Callaway. Because I got shredding the urethane cover off the ball.
Yeah, Chrome Softs aren't known for being very durable, but even the TaylorMades are very durable balls.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of durability out there, but I'm not shaming direct consumers at all, because you can save a lot of money on a good product with those guys. So I wouldn't steer anybody away from a direct consumer, especially a higher handicap if you're looking for a high-end ball, because one kind of secret in the industry, there's outside of Titleist, there's 3 factories that make golf balls. Every brand, including Snell, Cut, and Vice, are made in these 3 factories. They're all in Taiwan. And so TaylorMade, Bridgestone, every other brand is made in these 3 factories. So they utilize similar technologies. Basically what Vice and Snell and all these guys do is they buy the old, inner cores from the larger manufacturers and then put them in their balls. When they change out to the newer product, basically Vice and them are using their old stuff. So it's not necessarily saying it's a bad ball, because at one point the larger manufacturers utilize that product. So there's still some good in there. It's just not the newest technology, which, again, higher handicaps don't necessarily need to be paying $50 a dozen. I would never recommend a higher handicap to spend that much, because you're just going to get upset and you're going to be spending $400 or $500 a year on golf balls. What other questions you guys got for me?
Okay. No, I think.
What other questions you guys got for me?
I got one more, and then I'll get back to Nick. What should we be optimizing for irons? Because I think just watching a lot of tour golf and stuff, it's a lot of I can't believe Matthew Wolf's hitting his 9-iron 190, right? And there's a part of me that's well, I'd prefer to hit short irons and long irons, right? But I don't know. Is it distance? Is it dispersion? Or, of course, the answer both? I don't know. Because, I like my irons, but I noticed that, for how far I hit all my other stuff, my irons don't go very far, and that's okay. Maybe that's the shafts. But what kind of, as you think, specifically for irons, what do you think that you're kind of optimizing for your irons?
So it really is, it's a conversation that you have with the person that you're fitting. So a big thing with hitting, let's say, so we fit in 6 irons. A big issue that you're going to have if you're hitting a 6 iron, 190, 200, and for most amateurs, we aren't good enough to flight the ball in all of these different ways. Being able to hit shots low, hit shots high, hit a cut, hit a fit, all these different, types of shots. So main thing is, if it's a handicap that's a plus, yeah, they might be able to shape it and things like that. So having maxed out distance is important for that person, because they can take a 54 degree and hit it 130 yards, but also hit it 80, because they know how to flight their ball. Where you need to have proper gapping for players that are just going to hit the same stock shot and for 90% of their shots. So I necessarily wouldn't want to put somebody like Ashton, even Nick, into something that's going that far, because what it's going to do, it's going to create issues in the bottom of your bag. So if I have you hitting a 6-iron 190 yards, you're now hitting your pitching wedge 150. And so then we're having issues when you get into that 90 to 80 yard range approaching a green, because you don't have a club in your bag for that anymore. Unless you learn how to flight your clubs, which if that's something you're trying to do and that's a discussion we have, then that's not a big deal, because that's something that you're trending and you're working with your coach, your swing coach, to be able to do. So then that's a conversation I have where I'm like, all right, let's max you out. Let's get tightest dispersion, furthest, distance we can on all of the stuff. But for people like you guys that are 90% going to hit the same stock shot, we need to dial you back a little bit. I would rather you hit a 6-iron 175, 180, because then that leaves us more room in the bag to be more flexible and get you into that lower realm to where your clubs allow you to be able to play all of those numbers that you're going to see in your approach game.
Yeah. Well, it's like you told me the last time we played golf, Chris. You were saying that you identified that and it's true, like I'm very much like what is the shot to hit? I hit it. Like I'm not a super creative golfer, and I don't really like to be. It's more of like, let me hit this like chippy 7. Like, no, I don't. I struggle with that. It's more of like, what's the shot I need to hit? And let me hit it and commit to it. So that makes a lot of sense, because it's more of like, can we get my 9-iron going 180? I'm joking, but like, it's just hard, because again, that's also where like honestly marketing does come into it, right? It's like, God, can you imagine hitting your pitching wedge from 170? It's like, but to your point, it's like, that's fucking stupid, because what happens if you have 62 yards?
Also, let me say this. The majority of the courses that we're playing are 6,500 yards. The majority of the courses that the pros are playing are 7,100 to 7,400 yards. So for Matthew Wolf to hit his 6-iron 200 yards, that makes fucking sense, because he's playing 400 or 580 yard par 5s. So if he's hitting, a driver 300 yards and still left with, 280 in, he needs to be able to hit his 3-wood 280. Like he needs to be able to do that. Where we're playing par 5s that are maxing out at 480, 500. So if you can hit your driver 280, then you're left with 220 in. And that's, again, going to be your 4 hybrid. And that's a much more approachable shot. So that's the conversations I have with people, where it's like, you're not a pro. You're not playing for 7,200 yards. Why do we need to have a 200-yard 6-iron? That's fucking unnecessary. Unless you're qualifying for the U.S. Open, like there's not going to be any room in your bag there for that.
Yeah, but chicks dig the long ball, so
if chicks
I do want to hit my 6-iron 200 yards.
Well, actually, I was going to say, now that Nick's broken 89, actually, he is trying to qualify for the U.S. Open. I forgot to tell you that. So it's a natural next progression.
So that's a conversation I have with Nick. We're going long. We're going long, Nick.
Can I get what are the Wilson launch pads? Can I get a full bag of those?
Oh man, covers. Yeah, we'll get you Cobra T-rails. All Nick, hybrid everything.
Soon, but one more. You sneak in one more question, Nick, and then I know you got to bail.
Chris, what's more important during a fitting, shafts or club heads? Like, I know the OEMs all pump out these new club heads and have all the marketing around the club heads, but everything I read online tells me that shafts are just as, if not more important. What are your thoughts on that?
So if I'm relating golf clubs to a car, shafts are the engine and the transmission. The head is the chassis. So it's 75% shafts, 20, or about 25% heads. So finding an optimal shaft for the customer that's correctly working, getting the proper numbers, then allows the fitter to match a head that's going to complement that shaft. So 100% shaft is the most important thing in a club fitting. And it doesn't matter if it's wedges, irons, woods, hybrids, or driver. Shaft is the most important thing. And that's why when I do a fitting, when I fit you first, how we start is I pick one head that's closest to the stock set that you play now. We work our way through the shaft wall, find the proper shaft that works for you and gives us the optimal numbers we're looking for, and then we get into playing with all the different heads.
Fantastic. Can't wait, boys. This is going to be a lot of fun.
This is going to be a good time. I'm excited for you guys to get up here. Stoked to get you guys fitted.
I'm just ready to experience the shaft wall, you know? That's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, it's a candy store, my guys. I mean, anybody that loves golf loves coming into the store because it is a absolute fucking candy show.
Okay, so we've just gone from the shaft ball to candy show. I think that's an excellent way to wrap up this. Oh, my God. Well done, Hot Dog Boy. That was really well done. Okay, well, I'll see you guys in Portland, okay?
Can't wait.
All right, fellas.
Okay, peace.
See you soon.